Whether you are a Michigan fan or an Ohio State fan, if you are just a college football fan or a sports fan, you just witnessed history. A historic performance, a historic landmark game and result that could change the Big Ten. Could change the Big Ten. We'll talk historic. We'll talk future some other day. We'll talk about this game right now. Welcome into the voice of college football, and we just witnessed the game. And while typically when I go live, I open it up to conversation about college football across the board, and certainly you can chime in about anything: Florida, Florida State, Boston College, Wake Forest, etc. A lot of important games across college football. This is first and foremost about the Michigan win over Ohio State, 42-27. We would ask that you would like this live stream, that you would share this live stream out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, also on Twitter, of course, and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football, because this is what we do. What we're experiencing today in college football, this goes on every day here at the Voice of College Football, 365 days a year. Michigan, too strong, too determined, too tough, too physical for Ohio State. This was a grown man football game. That's what this came down to. Grown man football. And Michigan was just too dominant on both sides of the ball up front. Too strong, too dominant, physically imposing in this game. Ohio State's prolific passing offense was the only thing that kept them in this game. That was it. And the Buckeyes certainly made mistakes, and that was attributed much to the Michigan crowd. The Big House was rocking in this one. I will get to your comments and questions in just a second after I make one point. There were two factors in this game that we talked about all week. Every time any of you asked me, what are the biggest factors in this game? What is the Michigan formula for victory? I said two things: over and over and over and over, and we saw both of them come into fruition. I said, number one, those two Wolverine defensive ends, David Ajabu and Aiden Hutchinson, getting to the quarterback. And they put enough pressure on C.J. Stroud consistently. Sure, they gave up big plays. Sure, they gave up scores. But 27 points to that offense, that is the best offense in college football. And even after watching it today, I will say the best offense in college football. And Michigan put the pressure on enough times to get stops, to get red zone stops, to force field goals, to turn in negative plays. So that was first and foremost, pressure on C.J. Stroud. Number two, we talked about this over and over and over and over and over and over. What I wanted to see last week out of Michigan State was them to be able to stay in the game long enough to give Kenneth Walker the type of opportunity that Hassan Haskins had today. And that is pound and beat and slam it forward on the Ohio State defense. Beat down that defense in the fourth quarter. But Kenneth Walker only carried it 6 times. Hassan Haskins was a beast today. He was a man. And the offensive line, they are the MVPs of this game. The Michigan offensive line, the MVPs of this game, give the secondary MVP to Hassan Haskins. Because what I talked about last week and potentially wanting to see out of this Ohio State defense was if they could respond against a physical run game. Well, it didn't come into play against Michigan State. But here we talked about it this past week. Hassan Haskins over and over and over, slamming it into the line over and over and over and over. So this was a formula that we talked about, and it came to fruition. Michigan beats Ohio State. They were the much better team today, 42-27. All right. I've got all sorts of notes, things I could talk about. I could highlight so much of this game. I take note after note after note after note, but more important are your comments. So let's get to those. Web security, Mark, Ohio State defense is where? Does Day take a look at that unit this offseason? He certainly should. They're a young unit up front, and some of these guys will certainly get stronger and better. They've got two tremendous 5-stars at defensive end in Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. And they're not great players yet. They may turn out to be great players someday. The real MVP, Ohio State fans, do you want to talk about it? Yeah, we're here to talk about it. Johnny Bays, Ohio State goes down. Yeah, what a game. What a performance. Was it a great game? Yeah, it was a great game. It could have turned out to be a really great game had Ohio State not given up that last touchdown. Once they cut it to 35-27, I thought we might be in for an epic finish, like a classic red zone stop needed at the end of the game to hang on to the win. But that didn't happen because Michigan slammed it down the field and scored the touchdown. And Ryan Day, what could he do there at the end? Just tell his defenders, let him score. Let him score. We need the ball. Let him score. And shoot, it was over by then. Return trip, praying for the citizens of Columbus tonight. Dependent fanatic, I am so happy I cried. Go Wolverines. I'm in shock. Wow. And this is the joy of college football. This is the bitter disappointment of losing, of course, as Michigan has had to endure for year after year after year after year. And many Ohio State fans, many expected a tough game. I was texting with my friends the entire game. I did not pick Michigan to win the game, but it certainly went through my mind. And as I stated last night, I gave them about a 35% chance of winning. And I had a feeling, I definitely had a feeling with the weather conditions being what they were going to be. I texted my kids last night and I said, forecast for the game, 23 degrees and snow. Uh-oh. That's what I texted them. 23 degrees and snow. Uh-oh. Not a good formula for the Buckeyes. But Michigan would have won this game regardless. But I do believe that the elements helped Michigan. But it's football. You play with the elements. But it didn't hinder Ohio State from passing the football. Michigan was tremendous in its scheme in limiting the big play. There were really no huge plays for Ohio State. We didn't see Garrett Wilson go 77 yards for a touchdown, streaking down the field like he did against Michigan State last week. Sure, they were prolific in the passing game. They always are. Those three wide receivers are so good. If Ohio State did not have them, this game would have been a runaway. Return trip, Ohio State lost to the two best teams they played all year. They lost to the best team they played. Oregon, I don't know. Something tells me Penn State or Michigan State could walk into the Pac-12 and win. Return trip, CJ Stroud for Heisman. You know what? If Heisman voters actually locked into football and watched football, most of them don't. Let's understand that the Heisman is voted on by a bunch of sports writers that are watching baseball, free agency, and the NFL and other things. They don't really understand what's going on. So CJ Stroud, I am in more awe and respect of his ability and his ability to play in adverse situations, not just talking about the weather, talking about the conditions of the game. I thought CJ Stroud was phenomenal. So return trip, I think you're trolling there, but you're actually speaking a truth that should be considered. His Heisman candidacy should be not tied to the team winning. There are 22 players on the field. CJ Stroud was exceptional in this game. David Greenshield, I am here, and we'll give credit where credit is due. We got beat down. Michael, I told you all Michigan was going to win. Okay. Michael told everyone maybe in the chat at some point that Michigan was going to win the game. Good for you. Return trip, I have a feeling this chat is going to be very quiet today. No, we got a lot of Michigan fans. And we've got Ohio State fans with class, like David showed up just to say hi. We give you credit. It's college football. How many times have I said, I probably made this statement more than 100 times on this channel. It's going to happen sometime. It's going to happen sometime. Now, we know the last time it happened, Ohio State fans would like to put an asterisk next to the Michigan win in 2011 because interim coach, but they played and Michigan won. But besides that, with an actual coach, the permanent coach on the side, it's been since 2003. I was like just a young pup, 2003. My goodness. And we're going to find out in a few minutes who Michigan's going to play in the Big Ten championship game. Michigan has made the Big Ten championship game. Wow. And we'll see what happens to the rivalry in the Big Ten going forward. This may really help Jim Harbaugh recruit. But again, discussion for another day. We're going to talk about what it all means here and now. Hair Trigger says, not even a Michigan fan. I was pumped watching it. Yeah, if you were a non-participant in the game, in the rivalry, just wanted to see something historic, you got it. That was historic. Michigan is going to play for a Big Ten championship for the first time since there's been a Big Ten championship game. They could win a Big Ten championship for the first time since 2004. And they beat Ohio State. And they beat them when it mattered even the most because there was a championship on the line. It's enormous. Hair Trigger almost made me feel as good as the Iowa comeback against Nebraska yesterday. Iowa rooting for Minnesota. That game's going to kick off at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Got to stop the run. So David makes a point there that I certainly noted a number of times. We talked about it this week. The winner of the rushing battle has won this game 19 consecutive times. Cross that out. Now, 20 consecutive times the winner of the game has won the rushing battle, and it wasn't even close this time around. Johnny Bays, damn, first Oregon, now this. Dependent Fanatic, we broke through finally. Now Big Ten championship and national championship is possible. Yes, it is possible. Enjoy this. Enjoy this, Michigan fan. You can wait 6-7 days to play in the Big Ten championship game, and do not take that game for granted. We'll see next Saturday if Michigan can handle prosperity, because they're going to take out on a team, especially if they face Wisconsin. Wisconsin's equipped and able to beat Michigan. I don't know if I really have a lot of confidence that Iowa could beat Michigan. Web security. Well, now the old channel goes to Bama Auburn. We will have Bama Auburn postgame right here at the Voice of College Football, right here on this very main channel with our guy Zach Remelius. Auburn Bama Iron Bowl post right here at the Voice of College Football. You Michigan fans, head on over to the Michigan channel because they're celebrating over there. So you can check out the Michigan channel with Dre and Dez. They've got live postgame. It's going on right now as we speak. You got to pardon me for a quick second because I'm going to keep talking and answering your questions and responding to what you got there. But I got to make sure that our other post games are in line. We got a Florida post game going on right now, Florida State post game, Michigan post game, Miami post game, Georgia post game. Just got to make sure everything is in order. Has anybody checked Tom Brady's Twitter account? I'm sure he's going off. Charles Woodson on the Fox broadcast. Certainly, I'm sure he was about to explode. Got Dwayne here. Wow, that was some beatdown Ohio State put on. Oh, wait. I love how everybody has to look out and try to find the people that are fans of the other team to just show that, hey, I knew more than you. And then I'm sure in the process, Ohio State fans are going to be reminding Michigan that they beat them 99% of the time. So, wow, we'll give them 1 year kind of thing. So you can always take whichever one you want there. Ohio State obviously headed all over Clemson after beating them in the playoff, but the Clemson fans would still come back and say, it's 4-1. But it's all about what happened today, what is happening now, and that goes to Michigan. They could probably consider taking down that ridiculous 2018 Eastern Division co-championship banner if they're a real program. Dwayne, we've got a lot of Ohio State fans on here. Have you been paying attention? So Johnny Bay says, now hopefully Michigan loses to the Western champion. Dwayne, now some of you were saying it was going to be like 40-17 Ohio State, and can you blame them? They were making an honest prediction that was feasible. We have no idea really who's the better team or who would win a series or 10 games. Ohio State, I made the comment yesterday that regardless of what happens, unless Michigan really thumps Ohio State, I'll probably still think Ohio State's a better team. But does that matter? No, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that Michigan won the game. And yes, we're leading up to Bedlam tonight. That's the other, really the two enormous games of the day, unless there's some kind of crazy upset. Ohio State, Michigan, and Bedlam tonight. Got Logan, Ohio State fan showing up. Good job there. Definitely got wrecked today. Yep. The last call, it was one of the last calls that I took last night, was from an Ohio State fan who was going on and on about how I can't, this is a total joke that the point spread's 8 points. We should be a 20-some point favorite. First of all, I was saying, who cares what the point spread is? And number two, no, the point spread's legitimate. He thought it was like some kind of disrespect to Ohio State that the point spread was 8. It was actually now, as it turns out, disrespect to Michigan. Mike Rotundo, thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate it, and congratulations. Congratulations to all the Michigan fans. While we're stating it, congratulations to the Florida Gator fans. You have reached a bowl game, and in the absence of Dan Mullen, credit Florida getting themselves off the deck to win a rivalry game. I'm going to believe that they won it. It was 24-14, extremely late in the game. Rich says, Michigan, well done. It had to happen sometime. Yes, it was going to happen sometime. They were going to win sometime. Return trip. Can't wait for the first Ohio State fan to say they belong in the playoffs. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for the Ohio State fan to watch the playoffs, thinking that Ohio State's probably one of the 4 best teams in the country, but it doesn't work that way. If Alabama loses to Georgia, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. They're probably one of the 4 best teams in the country, but that is not the way it works. You got to earn the playoff spot. Ohio State was one of the 4 best teams in the country, certainly not even without a doubt in 2015. They did not earn the playoff spot. John Sarian, I've not been able to watch as much college football the second half of the season, but wow, that game was a surprise. Mike, I think Mark and his friends have that smirk on their face right now. If I had a smirk on my face? Johnny wants Wisconsin win the Big Ten West. I do as well, just because I think it'll be a better game. I'm nothing against Iowa. I don't have anything rooting interest for Wisconsin. Return trip. Jackson Smith, Najigba trapped that third and long catch was a bad call. I thought it was inconclusive. Let me get to these super chats because I want to make sure we honor the super chats. Make sure I get these. LW, Steve Dace will go to the movies every year now. Yeah, he's either going to say, I got to go back to the movies next year, or I warned him. How many times did I tell him? I told him about the last 3 or 4 weeks. Are you serious? Are you really? You have a legitimate chance to win this game. You have a legitimate shot. You will be in the game. You can win this game. I told Dace that over and over and over. Do not go to the movies. You're going to miss it, possibly. I didn't pick Ohio State to lose, but I was thinking before the game, I thought, if I was not an Ohio State fan, I would probably pick them to lose this game. Michigan didn't seem like the more physical team coming into it. And once I got a good feel for the weather conditions, DA, Loyola won. Congratulations to you. Doug, Michigan played better. Ryan was outcoached, was sad. I don't know if he was outcoached. They were whipped up front on both sides. And their defense, don't want to use the term soft. Little soft. The Ohio State defense, not really, didn't really put pressure on Cade McNamara. Really didn't. Nothing close to what C.J. Stroud had to face. You folks that believe in recruiting rankings, and I be one of them, they don't work all the time. I thought, as I stated many times, if Ohio State brings its A game, they will win the game. I don't believe they did. They were throwing snaps on the ground. They were false starting all over the place. But I don't think that they played a horrible game by any stretch. I don't think Michigan needed them to be gifting them much. 0 turnovers, right? Ohio State, 0 turnovers. Michigan had the turnover. If you would have given me that stat before the game, 1 zip in turnovers, that was it, right? Yeah, 1 zip. I would have said, oh, Ohio State probably wins this game. Although at the same time, the one stat that I said consistently this past week, I said, if somebody could show me, peek into the future and bring back one stat for me, I want the Hassan Haskins line. Now, if I would have seen the stat line of Hassan Haskins, then I would have said, okay, well, yeah, this turned out to be exactly what I was kind of thinking it was going to be. A Michigan offensive line, Hassan Haskins game. And that's what it was. 5 touchdowns to set the all-time Michigan record, the all-time series record. Guys, thank you so much for the super chats. Let me catch up with them. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody checking in here at the Voice of College Football. I'm going to take calls tonight. Not going to take calls now. We'll be on here to answer your questions and certainly post tons of congratulatory comments to Michigan and the comments concerning Ohio State's issues. Choctaw's here. Montana 408. 808. Ryan Day needs to coach better. He has been stinking. Okay. Thank you for the super chat. I will read them unless they're laced with profanity. I've read every super chat that's ever been sent to me, except for maybe 1 or 2, because they were laced with profanity. So aside from that, I will read it, even if it's kind of unfounded. So Ryan Day needs to coach better. He has been stinking. Okay. All right. I don't think there was a lot of coaching involved in this one. coaching issues involved in this one. Matthew, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that so much. Please don't let Steve Dace get off easy on Wednesday. I think it is Wednesday. Good game, Ohio State. It's just nice to win one. Me letting Steve Dace get off easy, he would be in the position to either be letting me get off easy. For not showing up, you mean? For not showing up and watching the game, which I can't fathom. If Michigan beat Ohio State 100 times in a row, I can't imagine that I would not watch this game. Yeah, the game ball. Haskins and Hutchinson both deserve the game ball. And what about that play that I was thinking, wow, if this turns out to be decisive when Hutch missed the tip on the floater out to Travion Henderson that got Ohio State within 35-27 on the fourth down conversion. That could have ended the game right there. And he just missed it. But it all worked out. Dog will take it. Kathy's an Alabama fan, but rooting for the Wolverines, or just basically saying congratulations. See, it's coming in from all over. Okay, John says, Mark, that last caller saying Michigan didn't have a chance was pretty drunk. You don't drink much, do you? Not a big drinker. All right. Next up, Drew. Hey, Drew. Everyone who thought Michigan being ranked over Michigan State can eat crow now. Told you all Michigan was better. Okay. Drew, you do understand the logic in ranking the team that won the game that has the same record above the team that lost the game. Michigan State can still say they still have bragging rights over Michigan. Yeah, maybe we'll get some kind of high-level bowl game outside the playoff in the New Year's Six, Ohio State, Alabama. How about that? They both may miss the playoffs, but Alabama's still playing some meaningful football, so let's not count them out quite yet. RF, it looks like we have a successful year. Go Blue. Yeah, for anybody trying to figure out whether Michigan was going to have a successful year at 10-2, losing to Ohio State, and we've had that argument and that discussion going back and forth all over the place for the last few weeks. Think no more. Successful season, successful year. Beat Ohio State, 11-1 regular season, successful. Even if they lose next week, that's not necessarily the way to go out. You don't want that. Harbaugh said before the season, a successful year is beating Ohio, I believe is how he phrased it, and winning a championship. Now, if you're a bit weak and your expectations aren't that high, you would consider this a championship, winning a division, but is really count division championships. Let's not count division championships as being real championships. Uncle Lou here. Ha, 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 ha. Lou, you could have done better than that. Let me add to that. Ha, 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 ha. Thanks, Lou, for the $5. I'll take it. Or YouTube will take some of it. Appreciate seeing Uncle Lou. Georgia had a difficult game with Georgia Tech today. Who won that game, by the way? I wasn't able to stay with that until the final there, so I don't know who was able to pull that out at the end. Can somebody give me a super chat with more ahas on there? Is that like a laugh, or is that kind of a festive Christmas type greeting? Vandy Dandy, I'm betting everything in my betting account on whoever the SEC team is. Yeah, so Vandy Dandy, I believe, telling us that Ohio State was the only team that could possibly beat an SEC team in the playoff. You might be right. You might be right. Load up on Georgia and or Alabama. I don't know if Michigan can handle either one of them. Joshua, watch this game all the way in Africa. currently deployed there. Super happy with the result. Wish I could have been at the game. Joshua, thank you so much for chiming in here and for your super chat contribution. I appreciate that so much. Very nice of you. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for your service, I believe. Well, we don't know if you're in the military in Africa. I took a shot at that one, maybe not. Regardless, thank you so much for being with us. Glad you could be with us. The beauty of the internet. There's so much wrong with the internet. The beauty of the internet, though, it's bringing all of us together. It was a great day of college football so far, and I can't wait to get at some of these other games. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan State, the Iron Bowl, and, of course, Bedlam's tonight. Jeremiah, worse run defense than Texas. Didn't think I'd ever see it. Well, Jeremiah, I don't know how old you are. Were you around in 1995 for Tim Biakabatuka? Yeah, it was bad. But I kind of predicted it. Hassan Askins. And that offensive line, that Michigan offensive line, wow. RF, who does Michigan want in the championship? I am telling you right now, they want Iowa. They do not want Wisconsin. I know they beat them by 21 points earlier this season. They want Iowa. What else we got here? Uncle Lou chime again. Question for Bucknut fans. Y'all still beating Georgia or now? Ah, ha, 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 ha. My national championship prediction is still in play. I believe I didn't watch the video, so I don't know how it went, but I saw on my video list, YouTube suggests videos. I saw Uncle Lou. I think you, Uncle Lou, would be the one that has a national championship game prediction that's wrong, right? You were the one that picked Ohio State, right? They were in my Final Four. My official prediction this year was Georgia beating Ohio State in the semifinal, Alabama beating Notre Dame in the semifinal, and an Alabama-Georgia national championship game. Hey, Gary. Thank you so much for the Super Chat contribution. Appreciate that. Gary is just basically saying blue. A lot of blue there. Thank you, Gary. We've got John chiming in. Mark, your shows are the best. Go Hawks. Iowa fan. How about that? Congratulations to you, John, yesterday, coming back with 22 consecutive points against Nebraska. Nebraska always finds a way to lose. I've been putting these videos together, and I'm calling them by the numbers. And I don't know that a lot of people get into that kind of stuff, but I just find it fascinating to compare these teams and these programs going through the various numbers. And why'd I bring that up? Well, Iowa to win with 22 consecutive points in Nebraska, and their situation is a whole other deal that we will have plenty of offseason to address the Nebraska program going forward. Mike, I appreciate that so much. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Everybody's great to see all these Michigan fans celebrating here. Chad, go blue. I got to say, I would not have been able to have a YouTube channel or been able to do this 20, 25 years ago. I would have been in such disarray, so downtrodden, just in the gutter, just frustrated, disappointed, just couldn't carry on. But, had a number of those moments in my life where it was like, okay, this football thing is fun. It's really not that important, though. So I think one of those was when Ohio State was number one in the country, consensus number one. To this day, I will claim the best team in the country in 1998. And they lost to Nick Saban and Michigan State at the Horseshoe. John Cooper pulled some of his coaching stunts, as he typically did with a team that was so much better than the opponent, and lost 28-24, blew a 24-9 lead. And Ohio State, that wrecked Ohio State's season. It shouldn't have, but anyway, that's another story. Wrecked Ohio State season, and I'm just devastated by this result. But at the same time as I'm devastated by this result, my son, who is all of 2 years old at the time, is grabbing at my pant leg. Daddy, 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 let's play. That was one of those moments where I was like, this is what really matters here. Omega, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that so much. Not a fan of either team, but GG to both. Is that like a congratulations? Michigan just out physical to Ohio State. Absolutely beat them up, upside the head, both sides of the ball. Now, the defensive line for Michigan didn't dominate the Ohio State offensive line. That was a good battle and pretty much played out the way I thought. The Ohio State offensive line held up most of the time in pass protection, but obviously gave up some plays to Hutchinson and Ajabo and company. It was on the other side of the ball. The Michigan offensive line completely, they protected, they beat up the Ohio State defensive line in the run game. Yeah. I thought coming in, if it be something physicality, Michigan would win, but it became a finesse game that Ohio State would win. Yeah. Yep. And that was smart of you to think that. And that's one of the reasons why I texted my kids this morning or late last night and said, at kickoff, excuse me, at kickoff, 23 degrees and snow. Uh-oh. So after the primetime games tonight, we will open up the phone lines here at the Voice of College Football. So following Bedlam, we will open up the phone lines, and I need to make sure that our post-game shows are coming off. Let's see. Just make sure of something on Florida State. Painful, says Jason. Steve, Ohio State fans living in the past? I don't think so. Ohio State's going to be just fine. I think Ohio State's going to be just fine. Now, they may have to fight off Michigan every year. This may change things. Hey, Matthew. Appreciate you being here. Do you think that now that Michigan has gotten over the hump, this rivalry will be a little more even moving forward? Well, yes. A little more even. When you state it that way, yes, it couldn't get more dominant on the Ohio State side. When you never lose, it can't be any more dominant. So, yes, I think this is going to help Michigan in recruiting, going to help their confidence, just the outlook, the whole deal. Is this going to flip the rivalry? We'll dive into that during the offseason. Yes, Michigan got over the hump this particular year. Yes, they did. But we see other rivalries where one team dominates, but that doesn't mean that they win every year, but they still maintain domination in the rivalry. And Ohio State may be able to do that, continue to dominate the rivalry, even though they lost one time. I think Michigan's much more and better equipped than some of the other teams like Oklahoma State or Oregon State or UCLA in the past that got beat down in a particular rivalry. They're much more equipped to deal with and compete with Ohio State. The Free Economist. Curb stomping. Well, it wasn't quite a curb stomping, but if that's what you want to put on it, hey, we'll throw your super chat contribution up there and say curb stomping. Sure. They won. And their offensive line, the offensive line, curb stomping. I will say offensive line, running game, Haskins, curb stomping. The rest of it, very competitive. I don't know what it feels like. I'm trying to think. In baseball, I was a enormous Cleveland Indians fan. So when we finally broke through and got to a World Series, but there wasn't like a particular team in the way. Red Sox fans, you know what that is against the Yankees. So I can't really say I know what it's like to be a Michigan fan right now. To be a Michigan fan, to have this cloud hanging over you and the team and the program for this long, and just to get either beaten in the final seconds, 2016, and other times 2013, or just beaten upside the head by Ohio State over and over and over. And for this rivalry to mean more to college football than possibly any rivalry, and to arguably to be the biggest rivalry in sports, and to be the nail, as Steve Dace often put it, this is no rivalry when there's hammer and nail, bug and windshield. That's not a rivalry. And to have to put up with that for almost 20 years and to finally break through, as a sports fan, I don't think very many sports fans have. Again, the Red Sox fans, once they broke through against the Yankees in 2004, and this Michigan game today, this is why this is historic. I don't think that there are too many rivalry situations as a sports fan that you can liken to this. And so, Michigan fans, you have to just have an indescribable feeling. I get it. Uncle Lou, Ohio State nitwits, to me, SEC would lose in cold winter weather. Same Ohio State nitwits. We lost today because it was cold and snowy. Yeah, that's an excuse, of course. I didn't see that from any Ohio State fans, but I'm sure some are saying that. Hey, we got Dan here. Dan or Don? Don? Good to see you, Don. Is Cincinnati the best team in Ohio? I don't think so, but what's your opinion? I think there are 5 to 7 teams better than Cincinnati. I would agree on both accounts. Cincinnati is not better than Ohio State. But, hey, they're going to be in the playoff. Probably if they beat Houston. So it doesn't really matter if they're better. Doesn't matter if I think they're better. It only matters that they're going to win all their games and get to the playoff. And Ohio State lost and will not be in the playoff. I think there's 5 to 7 teams better than Cincinnati. We saw Cincinnati struggle mightily against Navy and Tulsa and some other teams, and struggle to a certain extent against Tulane, who's won 1 game. So if you put Cincinnati in the Big Ten, they're not going undefeated. Can this be proven? No. Is it realistic? Yes. If they had to face what Ohio State's faced the last 6 weeks, Purdue, Michigan State, Penn State, Nebraska, Michigan. No, they're losing games. I'd give them about a 9-3. Reasonable Gumps here. Good to see Reasonable Gump. All right. RF coming back. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Appreciate that so much. You had a good pause there, man. I'll see how you feel later. Go blue, and thanks for the content. Always, man. Always. Got a lot of Michigan fans here at the Voice of College Football. Michigan fans, Wisconsin fans. We need more Wisconsin fans here at the Voice of College Football. Maybe we'll get it this week if they're able to win this game. They're down 3-0 right now. Now, anyone who just simply roots for the Big Ten, roots for a Big Ten team, and then by connection, by extension, roots for the conference, well, you don't want Wisconsin to win next week because that is going to nullify the Big Ten in the college football playoff. Daniel, I didn't think Michigan would win the game in my lifetime. Well, it did feel that way, didn't it? It's only been 8 years, but it did feel like that. And with an actual permanent coach on the sideline, it's been since 2003. So I can imagine for some Ohio State fans, they just figured this happens. We just do it. We just win this game. It doesn't matter. I get how you could start to feel like that. And on the Michigan side, when is this ever going to happen? So I have now watched 45 of these games. 45 of these games. So I have lived through Michigan domination, not to the extent that Ohio State has dominated Michigan, but I've lived through John Cooper going 2-10-1 and losing all the championship matchups against Michigan. So as we were talking about with Steve Dace the other day, the rivalry has rarely been, for as great as it's been and close overall, it's rarely been close at the same time. Throughout the 70s with Bo and Woody, and then through the 80s once Earl Bruce took over, that was a close series. Bo went 5-4-1 against Woody, and then he went 4-5 against Earl Bruce. And then he won his first 2 games against John Cooper. From the late 60s to the late 80s, it was a close rivalry. Those were close games, and that was a close series. Michigan then dominated, then Ohio State dominated. Of course, Michigan dominated back in the prehistoric times, and that's the reason they've got a lead in the series. But rarely have both programs been on top at the same time. Appreciate this super chat coming in here. You don't remember Tressel's first year? Yes, believe me, I remember it as well as anybody. Shoot, I could recite the plays against Michigan. Yes. Jonathan Wells, yes. 26-20, yes. I know the scores of all the games. Yes, I remember Jim Tressel's first year. 7-4 after they beat Michigan. Lost the bowl game to South Carolina, 31-28. Great comeback, but came up short. Yes. Why are you bringing that up? I don't know. Yes. I do remember that. One Scoop John's here. My prediction was 41-40 Michigan. Actual score 42-27 Michigan. Go Bucks. Or no, not go Bucks. Sorry, GG Bucks fans, though you will win the Rose Bowl. Okay. Thank you, One Scoop John. Appreciate your contribution. Who else is coming in here? JW, do you think a 2-loss Ohio State team, no Big Ten championship, stays in? No. Are they better than Cincinnati? Probably. Will they stay in the top 4? No. Considering everyone knows Ohio State's better than Cincinnati. Yes. Do we know that? Yes. We probably That's conventional football wisdom, but it's not happening. No. 2 losses. If they would have lost this game on a last-second field goal, you would have a better argument, of course, but still, no. We've got De Chico. Do you think Ohio State will fall under Notre Dame? I think Ohio State still has a chance to be above them in the rankings. Well, I appreciate the Super Chat contribution, and I will certainly honor this question. Thank you for that. Does it matter? Why are you asking? If you're not in the top 4 for the playoff rankings, I personally, being a college football nerd that remembers rankings meaning something way back in the poll era, it meant something to me if my team finished number 12 instead of number 16 way back when. But in terms of this playoff rankings for the playoff, I think Ohio State's better than Notre Dame. Whether they stay ahead of them, they've played a more difficult schedule. I would guess that based on 42-27, they're going to fall under Notre Dame. My top 25 that actually makes sense will be released on Sunday. Super sticker coming in. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate your contribution from Span. We are going to get back to watching football here soon, but I wanted to make sure that I got to all your questions here. Drew says, back in the late 80s and early 90s, Michigan dominated so much that people not from the Midwest thought Notre Dame was their chief rival and not Ohio State. That might be your experience. That was never my experience. And Michigan did win between 1988. They won in 88, 89, 90, 91. 92 was a tie. Yes, you young college football fans, there were ties back before 1997. So Michigan won in 89, 90, 91. Sorry, 88, 89, 90, 91. Tie in 92, 93, and then Ohio State broke that string in 94. Then Michigan won in 95 and 96. Then Ohio State in 97. So at one point they won, what was that? 88 through 97. That's 10 years. They went 8-1-1. Michigan's biggest stretch of dominance was 8-1-1 during that time. And most of those games were for Big Ten championships or factored into the Big Ten championship scenario. Mike, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate that so much. You think Ohio State can become more physical going forward, or is this a result of Day? I hope it's not a result of Ryan Day or some type of softening of the program, that what they do on offense rubs off on the defense, but there is one school of thought that if you have a finesse offense, well, your defense is practicing against a finesse offense, not a physical offense. Not that Ohio State can't run the ball and be physical on offense, but they tend to throw it a lot. Now, this Michigan defense might have been toughened up by having to face that offense in practice. Even though these guys don't hit as much as they used to, they still have to practice against a physical defense versus a finesse, or a physical offense versus a finesse offense. Football is still a physical sport, and Michigan taught Ohio State that lesson today. Let me make sure that our Miami live stream post-game show is all set. Pardon me for just 1 second. Okay. Tonight, after the primetime games, Bedlam in particular, we will be here live with you taking your calls here at the Voice of College Football. So big call-in show to wrap up the weekend tonight. Michael says, do you think not playing the game last year allowed Michigan to get over their mental block about beating Ohio State? I don't think that had anything to do with it. They certainly didn't have to endure getting beat upside the head again. And that, considering that it was the worst Michigan team that we've seen under Harbaugh by far, and I know they only played 6 games, but they were 2-4 and they were just bad. You know, that game might have been, that game might have been a 56-10, just complete annihilation. So Michigan did not have to suffer that. You just have to just truly credit Jim Harbaugh and his staff and his players, because there has to be a mental block there when you're seeing the same uniforms that always beat your brains in. And I got to think, for some of those games, especially the last 2 in the series, that Jim Harbaugh was just kind of throwing up his hands like, I'm recruiting well, building a team. I know what I'm doing. I've done this before. San Diego, Stanford, the 49ers. I've done this before. It's just not happening here. What's going on? Credit the Michigan administration for keeping Harbaugh around. Many of you Michigan fans and other people outside the Michigan community wanted him gone after last season. Be honest, you might be one of those people that said, get him out of here. I can dig up hundreds of comments on my channel about Michigan should fire Harbaugh. Well, they stuck with him. They underwent a reset. They determined that they needed some changes on the coaching staff, and they got younger. They got more fire, more fuel, some more creative ideas, some different thinking, and it made a big difference. Nebraska's watching this, hoping the same thing happens there, that their belief in the main guy and then making changes where they need to be made on the coaching staff will come through. Somebody in here said I was being petty. I don't know when that happened. That's fine. Cheryl, we appreciate you being here, and everybody else. We've been on the line for just about an hour. Appreciate the support through the post game here. And again, a historic Michigan win over Ohio State, 42-27. I might put together some kind of instant analysis a little bit later, but right now we've got Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the winner, if it's the Badgers, move on to the Big Ten championship game against the Wolverines, or we've got a Minnesota win would send Iowa to the Big Ten championship game. Of course, we've got Bedlam tonight. We've got the Iron Bowl this afternoon. So much college football to determine championship races, and we'll be back tonight after the ball games, about 11 o'clock Eastern time, to take your calls right here at the Voice of College Football. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you tonight. Thanks, Cheryl. Yes, that was a tough one, but thanks for being here, and we'll see everybody tonight after the ball game, after Bedlam.